Hello, welcome to Mind Doctor. I'm Mahalakshmi Samson. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something very important, and I always have felt that it needs mention and it should be spoken about, and that's the reason I have brought it into my video today. I'm going to talk about the invisible backbone in our family. Let me begin with a question. Have you ever felt like you're the only one carrying everything in your family? The responsibilities, the planning, the emotional care for everyone? Yeah? And slowly, without anyone intending it, you become the invisible backbone of your family or of the family. Not ignored intentionally, it is just that it is being assumed. And when effort becomes assumed for a long time, too long, something important also begins to happen. And that is the person behind the effort slowly becomes invisible in our families. Their needs does not matter. Their interest does not matter, and they actually become invisible. In many times, someone quietly becomes the system. Maybe that person is you, or maybe someone in your home. Someone remembers, right, the appointments, the school schedules, the medicines, the family functions, the financial details, birthdays, everyone's emotional state. And that someone notices when another person is tired in the house. And that someone adjusts when they understand there is tension or stress in the house. And because it happens every day, we slowly begin to believe this is just how things are. And this is what is normal in my family. But what began as care slowly becomes invisible labor that nobody notices. And you know what? For every action, there is an equivalent, and opposite reaction. And for every action, there would be an equivalent consequence, in other words. And for this invisible labor, the consequence is the emotional cost. At first, we do things willingly. We want our families to feel safe and comfortable. But over time, what happens is something starts to build quietly, and that something is fatigue. And with fatigue, emotional loneliness also gets built up. Sometimes a silent question appears inside us, and that question is, does anyone actually see what I'm carrying on my shoulders? Not because we want applause every day, but actually, even if we are applauded for that, it is really worth it. So it is not because we want applause every day, but it is because acknowledgement is a very basic human need. When effort is constantly assumed, the person behind the effort slowly becomes invisible. Once my friend told me about someone whom she knew, and this is a real story I really wanted to share in this context. Actually, this woman who was referred, actually she was living in one city with her children and her ailing mother-in-law. Her husband was working in another city, so she was managing everything on her own. The children, the house, her mother-in-law's health, and all the daily responsibilities of the family, everything. And sometimes, her friends who knew that, she's carrying too much, they would invite her also out, just to take a break, just to get a break. But every time she would get an invite, she would always say something that needs real mention here. You know what she would say? She would say that even if I take one day off, my house will collapse. Look at that statement. How deep, how painful, how heavy that statement is. Isn't it that? So she stopped going out, she stopped resting, she stopped taking time for herself. She kept carrying everything on her shoulders, and that too alone. Until that happened one day. And that one day, she did not wake up. She had actually passed away in her sleep due to a sudden cardiac arrest. After that, her husband initiated a transfer and they moved to the same city. A cook was arranged, a caretaker was arranged for the mother-in-law, support systems were put in place. And when my friend told me the story, one thought, stayed in me very deeply. And that is, what if some of this support had come earlier when that woman was alive? Sometimes we realize how much someone was carrying only after they are gone. And sometimes strength hides suffering, and that is why awareness here really matters. This is where a simple reflection tool can help. In my work, I often use something called CARE, which is very deep and very effective tool that we can use in situations like this to recover ourselves, to rescue ourselves, at the same time hold the family together. So this CARE, if you look at it, it helps us to pause and ask ourselves a few honest questions before actually exhaustion becomes a collapse. C in CARE stands for context. So first ask yourself, if you are that person, first ask yourself, what is actually happening here? What are the responsibilities I am carrying every day? Which of them are essential and which of them have simply become habits? Is my family aware of everything I am doing? Or has the system slowly started depending on me without even noticing what labor that I am putting into it? So understanding the context helps us to see the situation clearly instead of absorbing everything. Then comes A. A in CARE stands for awareness. Ask yourself honestly, what story am I telling myself about this situation? Am I telling myself, if I stop doing this, everything will collapse? No one else will do it properly, so I have to take care of everything. It is easier if I just handle everything, I don't need any support. Sometimes these stories feel true, but awareness allows us to question them gently. Is it really impossible for others to share responsibility, or have we simply never allowed that change to happen in our home, in our relationships, in our house? It's very important to ask this question and get an honest answer. R in CARE stands for responsibility, which is a very, very important and vital question. So the question that we need to ask is, what is my responsibility in this situation? Responsibility here does not mean doing more. It means recognizing what we are carrying alone and deciding what should no longer be carried alone. Right? It could be about fixing doctor appointment for the mother-in-law. It could be about taking her to the hospital or buying medicines. Right? A community can be arranged. A system can be arranged where, the community, the people in the community also can support us. And what part of the academics for my children can be taken care by themselves? Should I really take them to the support systems or the tuitions, and should I only drive them back? Should I only take them and drive them back home? Should I only cook everything, all 3 meals in my house? So it is very important to ask all these questions. Right? Sometimes responsibility means it is about speaking up. Sometimes it means asking for help. And sometimes it means allowing others to grow by taking responsibility too. Because when one person carries everything, everyone will unknowingly stop carrying anything. And E in CARE stands for evolution. Ask yourself, what is that one small change that could make this system healthier for everyone, so that we can build a strong family, strong home. It is not about a dramatic change, it is just a small shift. One responsibility shared, one conversation started, one boundary expressed. Small changes can slowly transform the entire system this way. And a small practice that I would like to invite you to do is that you can try it this week. It is a very simple practice. It's a very practical strategy, I would say. I call it the visibility exercise. The first one is, write down everything you handle in a typical week. You may be surprised how long that list can become. And the second step is, look at the list and ask which of these responsibilities can be shared. And step 3 is, Start a calm conversation and redistribute one or two responsibilities to everyone at home. Not as a complaint, but as a way of building a healthier family system. End of the day, that is why this invisible labor is also about, right? But it need not be invisible. It need not be individualistic. It needs to be done together as a family, as a team. So before we end, I want to leave you with a reflection. In many families, someone quietly carries more than others. Sometimes it is you, sometimes it is someone you love. But when effort becomes invisible for too long, the person carrying it slowly becomes exhausted thoroughly. Sometimes we carry so much for the people we love that we don't even realize we are carrying it alone and we are struggling. And no family should depend on the strength of one person alone, even if we are not struggling. It is important to know that no family, or no family. When I'm talking about no one person in a family should run the show, should be the system. So no family should depend on the strength of one person alone, right? So this week, ask yourself two questions. What are the invisible things that I am carrying in my home? And also ask yourself, what are the invisible things someone else might be carrying for me? Write them down. Then choose one responsibility that can be shared, because strong families are not built when one person carries everything. Strong families are built when care and responsibilities are shared. So if this video made you think about someone in your life, share it with them. Sometimes awareness is the first step towards change. When the invisible becomes visible, the relationship becomes healthier. So I wish you good luck in building a healthier, happy, strong homes where you're also visible. Thank you very much. If this video has struck some chord in you, I invite you to subscribe, like, and share this video to someone who would really matter. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video. Bye.